This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
It could be almost a week since the Tokyo Summer Olympics ended, but celebrations are still continuing across Africa. The continent's best athletes are getting feted and recognized for their medal-worthy performances in Tokyo as others take stock of what went wrong for them in the global sporting extravaganza. This week's program takes you a closer look at the athletes while also giving you the final medal report from the Olympic Games. Hello, welcome to your weekly sports program that brings you all the sporting news and reviews from an African perspective. We will highlight the thrill of victory while also showing you the agony of defeat. I'm Richard Nta, Nairobi. This is Sports Scene. Put on your seatbelts, buckle up, get ready. Let's get started. Here's what's coming up in the show. Egypt celebrates historic Olympic success in karate after winning 2 medals in Japan. And fans fill football stadiums in Somalia despite latest COVID-19 wave. Welcome in. Just like that, Sports Scene is on the air. We'll get to those other stories in just a moment, but first we kick off with the just concluded Olympic Games, where Uganda's athletes from the Tokyo Olympic Games were given a hero's welcome on their return home. Uganda managed to win 4 medals, the country's biggest ever medal collection from the Games. CGTN's Leon Sigenge reports.
Double medalist Joshua Cheptegei led the parade from Uganda's Entebbe airport to the capital Kampala. A cheering crowd welcomed the team. The medal winners Joshua Cheptegei, Jacob Kiplimo and Peruth Nta were given cars as a reward.
We shared your joy then, we still do right now, and shall continue to do so for as long as we who witness such moments can remember the medal-winning races by Peruth Nta, Jacob Kiplimo, and Joshua Cheptegei.
Uganda's medal haul included 2 golds, a silver and bronze, all won in long-distance races. Even with the prizes that have followed the Olympic success, athletes have continued to make one big demand. They want better training facilities so more Ugandans may have a chance at sporting glory. Joshua Cheptegei is already going it on his own. The champion has launched a $500,000 fundraising campaign to build his training center in eastern Uganda.
This project represents the only best possible chance to continue the legacy of winning Ugandan athletes and inspire communities of athletes all across the country to aim for the best.
While Cheptegei expects to open his facility next year, it's been a frustrating wait for the National High Altitude Center. The government is yet to complete the facility 9 years after construction started.
Joshua Cheptegei, Jacob Kiplimo, Peruth Nta have been able to enjoy the success they're enjoying because of their ability to train on international facilities outside Uganda. Now that is also a little bit costly. So if you have your own facility that meets international standards within Uganda, it actually becomes cheaper, but it also gives you the opportunity to have more athletes and nurtured and qualifying for these international events.
Uganda will hope to replicate or even better its performance from the Tokyo Games in future competitions. Expectations are high ahead of next year's Commonwealth Games and World Athletics Championships. Leon Sanyange, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Kenya topped the African medal charts once again at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, but the performance in Japan came under scrutiny after neighbors Uganda and Morocco won gold medals in events the country was expected to dominate in. CGTN's Wanja Mungai now reports.
Kenya led the African medal charts at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics after winning 4 gold, 4 silver and 2 bronze medals. Eliud Kipchoge, who retained his title from Rio 2016, and Perez Jepchirchir made it a Kenyan double in the men and women's marathon. Faith Kipyegon held on to her title from Rio in the women 1,500 meters as Emmanuel Korir succeeded David Rudisha as the men's 800 meters Olympics gold medalist. However, the dwindling medal return from Japan has raised concerns that Kenyan's dominance in distance running is waning. Ranked 15th overall at the Rio Olympics, Kenya fell back 4 places to 19th at Tokyo 2020. Having won 9 gold medals in a row in the men's 3,000 meters steeplechase, Morocco's Soufiane El Bakali became the first non-Kenyan Olympic champion in Japan. Uganda's Peruth Chemutai outclassed the field that had Kenyan world record holder Beatrice Chepkoech and Rio 2016 silver medalist Hayvin Kipyeng to strike gold. Those results shocked a nation, with 3-time world steeplechase champion Moses Kiptanui calling for an overhaul.
I offered myself to train the Olympic team just for free. Okay? I just want to, because I saw during the trials we were not doing very well. The time that our athletes were recording were not time that were convincing that we are ready for that game. So I feel if AK are going to reason with all the former athletes, another good-minded people who could sit down and give advice, we can change these things within a month.
The sport has changed. The sport is very different now, and we have a lot of other countries that were not in the reckoning in steeplechase. The United States and now Morocco, you know, they don't have anywhere near the same tradition that Kenya has. But they have closed the gap, and they have shown us very clearly in Tokyo that they are now a force to be reckoned with. So tradition doesn't count for very much in Olympics. You know, Kenya also, on their side, in some events, down through the years, didn't have much respect for tradition. The other countries came into events with huge successes before them, and yet Kenya blew them away.
Aging champions, lack of proper sporting facilities, and the effects of the global pandemic are some of the factors blamed for the diminished medal return from Tokyo 2020. It's now back to the drawing board for Kenya ahead of the Paris 2020 Summer Games in 3 years' time. Wanjamungai, CGTN.
Let's now talk more about Africa's overall performance at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics with Deji Omotoyinbo, African sports analyst who joins me from Lagos, Nigeria. Omotoyinbo, welcome to Sports Scene. Let me begin by asking you, what was your standout African performance from the Tokyo Olympic Games?
Well, there are a few performances. Christian Mboma in the 200 meters winning silver. Ahmed El Hafanui winning the gold medal in 400 meters freestyle. But it has to be Soufiane El Bakali ending the Kenyan dominance in 3,000 meters steeplechase. 9 straight times, dating back 40 years, the Kenyans had won it. Soufiane El Bakali took advantage of the absence of Conselsos Kipruto to win that. For me, that was an outstanding performance by an African at the Olympics. Good mention, honorable mentions, Botswana 4x400 meters team breaking the African record for winning bronze. But for me, it has to be Soufiane El Bakali ending that 9 Olympic time dominance of the Kenyans in the 3,000 meters steeplechase.
All right, Deji, speaking of Kenya, Kenya finished at the top of the medal standings. Could they have done better considering their recent Olympic success?
Well, I know the fact that Kenya won 6 gold medals, I think, in London, in Beijing, and then they won 6 gold medals as well at Rio. 4 gold medals at these Olympics might appear like a disappointment. But you have to realize that it's been a very difficult year. Most training programs were disrupted by COVID. A lot of athletes couldn't really travel to their training camps, and they didn't have the proper training they wanted ahead of the game. So for me, Kenya after winning 4 gold medals is a decent performance. They won in 800, 1,500 meters, and the Eliud Kipchoge and Chepchirchir won the marathon. So I feel under the circumstances, yes, a bit of a disappointment, but I think the Kenyans really did well by winning 4 gold medals. It could have been better, but I don't think it's a disaster either.
I guess 4 gold medals, not so bad. Well, there's a lineup of major sporting events in the world in the next 4 years. Is Africa likely to feature prominently in the medals tables from your perspective? How do you see it?
Well, I think Africa would improve from these Olympics because the COVID situation appears to be easing off. Athletes can now travel to their training camps. The sponsors are bringing out their grants. The whole situation, COVID is still there, but the whole situation about preparation for major tournaments is getting better. You know, a lot of athletes had primed themselves for Tokyo last year, and then that disruption, it means you have to start all over again. So we have to be understanding of the fact that that disruption may have affected some athletes. But now, with Paris, with the Worlds next year, I think African athletes would have the proper training program, and I expect the African athletes will continue to shine on the international global stage.
All right, Deji Omotonyinbo, let's leave it there for now. We appreciate your perspective. Moving on, crowdfunding is not a new idea in sport, with many athletes relying on it to raise money to attend events, travel, or purchase equipment. But for the first time in South Africa, a technology platform called matchkit.co has been used to raise funds for 2 Olympians who stood to miss out on their medal bonuses. CGTN's CS Duplessis has more.
Using the matchkit.co technology came about 3 months before the Tokyo Games, as technology entrepreneur Mike Sharman and his team successfully assisted the South African men's and women's hockey teams to fund their trip to the sporting showpiece. But after hearing that the 2 medal winners, Tatjana Schoenmaker and Bianca Buitendag, would not be receiving bonuses as per previous Olympics, Sharman decided to get involved once again.
It really was based on a comparison between what athletes from Rio achieved off the back of their medal bonuses. So if we put Tatjana's achievement into the same perspective and leveraging the same precedent, not even taking her additional Olympic record into consideration of that 100-meter breaststroke swim in the heats, she should really be eligible for 850,000 Rand. And our silver surfer, Bianca Buitendag, she should be eligible for about 200,000 Rand.
The lack of planning to fund bonuses has left many South Africans incensed and wondering why administrators have not done more to laud their athletes' performances.
It feels incredible to be part of connecting those dots, and I think we are very proud as a small startup brand that we can stick it to the man and we can shake that tree, because ultimately there needs to be a challenger brand for these challenger brands.
It was a real surprise and very encouraging to see that the South African community and the corporates and so on are, took matters in their own hands and want to actually reward the swimmers.
The COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating effect on world sport and its finances in particular. And according to the tech-savvy Sharman, it could force the hand of athletes to generate revenue in other ways.
I honestly believe that this is the model of the future, and especially if you look at international markets like the US. They've just instituted NIL, which is name, image and likeness. So for the first time, college kids in that market, they can actually commercialize their name, their image or their likeness. And it's unprecedented because ultimately athletes are the #1 influencers in the world.
Within an hour of the crowdfunding initiative going live, Mike and his team had raised over $7,000. The generosity of the South African public was overwhelming, and that number has since increased to well over $20,000 and continues to rise as the Rainbow Nation digs into its pockets to recognize 2 athletes who went above and beyond to do their country proud in Tokyo. CS Duplessis, CGTN, Pretoria, South Africa.
Let's keep it moving here on Sports Scene. We're just getting started. Here's what's ahead. Egypt celebrates historic success in karate after winning 2 medals in Japan. Welcome back to Sports Scene. Thanks for staying with us. Now, Egypt made history at the Tokyo 2020 in Japan when it won 2 medals in karate. Feryal Abdelaziz won gold in the women's 61 kilograms, and Gianna Farouk brought home bronze in the women's 61 kilograms as well. Karate is one of 4 sports that were introduced specifically for the Tokyo 2020 and will not continue afterwards. CGTN's Adel Al-Mahroui brings us this report.
Cairo International Airport's arrival hall is packed with people. Karate cadets cheer and dance as they wait for Feryal Abdelaziz to come back from Tokyo. Everyone is eager to see for themselves the Olympics gold medal.
This is the first time karate has done well in the Olympics. Egypt always wins medals in the World Championship, which is the closest to the Olympics. We were very close to winning 4 medals, but 2 of our athletes weren't so fortunate.
Feryal brought Egypt's first gold since 2004. Her national team colleague Gianna Farouk won another medal, a bronze in the 61 kilogram category. Together they made karate the most successful sport for the country in the Olympics this year.
We are the 3rd in the world rank and 1st in the youth. If France changes its mind to include karate, we should at least have 2 medals in the next Olympic Games. But until then, the International Federation wants to capitalize on the success of karate in Tokyo so that it can be a permanent sport. When this happens, Egypt will definitely win more medals at every coming Olympic Games.
Egyptian karate star has become the first Egyptian woman in history to win gold in the Olympics. It's an outstanding achievement that has driven the Egyptian president to personally congratulate Feryal Abdelaziz. President Sisi also decided to name a street in Cairo after her.
It's an indescribable feeling to be honored by the president of the country. It's a first time to have a street named after a female athlete. A medal is the least I can do for my country. Karate was the last sport in the Olympic schedule. The final was the last event. All that I could think about was my national anthem must be played in the closing event. To make it happen is a heartwarming feeling.
Tokyo 2020 was the karate debut in the Olympics. The sport was divided into 2 disciplines: kata, an individual competition where an athlete is required to do a specific sequence of moves in precision, and kumite, which is a combat form of karate. Egypt's both medals were in kumite. Adel Al-Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
The Summer Olympics in Tokyo produced some of the top moments from African athletes. The continent managed to produce 35 medalists at the Games, including 11 champions. Here is CGTN's Mohammed Abubakar with a recap of Africa's top performers.
The Tokyo 2020 Summer Games will be remembered as the Olympics without spectators that featured 11,506 athletes representing 205 nations, with China finishing 2nd in the overall medal standings with a total of 88 medals, 38 of which were gold, just 1 short of surpassing their most gold medals tally at an overseas games. On the other hand, Africa produced 11 gold medalists from 7 countries, and just like in Rio 2016, Kenya finished top of the African medal charts with 10 medals, 4 of them gold. 2 Kenyans, record holder Eliud Kipchoge and Faith Kipyegon, made history by going back-to-back in the men's marathon and women's 1500 meters respectively. East African neighbors Uganda won 2 Olympic gold medals for the first time ever. Joshua Cheptegei in the men's 5,000 meters and Peruth Chemutai in the women's 3,000 meters steeplechase, also landing in the middle step of the podium in the distance running, were Kenya's Emmanuel Korir in the men's 800 meters and Peres Chepchirchir in the women's marathon. Ethiopia's only gold medal came through Solomon Barega in the men's 10,000 meters, while Morocco's Soufiane El Bakali denied Kenya a 10th straight Olympic men's 3,000 meters steeplechase title. There were more golden moments for Africa, but outside athletics. Feryal Abdelaziz struck gold for Egypt in the women's plus 61 kgs kumite karate. Fellow North African 18-year-old Tunisian swimmer Ahmed Hafnawi stunned the world when he scooped gold medal in the men's 400 meters freestyle. But it was South Africa's Tatiana Schoonmaker that stole the show in the pool. after winning in the women's 200 meters breaststroke with a world record time of 2 minutes 18.95 seconds. Now Nigeria, Namibia, Botswana, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana were the other nations who landed on the podium as the effects of the global pandemic saw African athletes win fewer medals than in Rio 2016.
Africa failed to land the men's football gold medal at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, with Egypt and Cote d'Ivoire exiting at the quarterfinals. Cameroon remains the last African nation to win the tournament, and the man who scored the decisive penalty as they beat Spain in the Sydney 2000 finals. Let's take a look.
Nearly 21 years after Cameroon won the men's football Olympic title against Spain in a penalty shootout, Pierre Wome is still in good shape. The Olympic Sydney gold medalist talks about his greatest memory and recalls the indomitable Lions' journey in Australia.
The biggest memory I have of the 2000 Olympics is winning the final and the gold medal. As we progressed in the competition, we told ourselves that we could win it. But there were times when we had doubts. When we got past the quarterfinals and the semifinals, we were wondering if we could really win the gold medal, because winning gold was our main goal. We wanted to add another title to our record. Just before the final, we said to ourselves that we had the ability to do it.
Wome still jealously guards his gold medal, and he lamented the absence of the Cameroon men's football team at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics.
The medal is still there, as you can see. I have kept it in a safe place since the summer 2000 games. It was really hard to accept that Cameroon did not qualify for Tokyo 2020. But as a high-performance athlete, I know that defeat is a part of football and sport in general.
Delayed by 1 year due to the global pandemic, the Tokyo Olympics finally opened on the 23rd of July. For the 42-year-old retired Cameroonian international, Japan's determination to host the Games in the middle of the pandemic proves the power of human endurance.
We know that the last 2 years have been really difficult, but the sport has to move forward. You always have to move forward despite the circumstances, and that is what has been done. The International Olympic Committee and Japan decided that the competition had to be held without spectators in order to be maintained. This was done, and I think that was very good.
The Cameroonian team was the second African nation to win men's football gold at the Olympics after Nigeria beat Argentina in the Atlanta 1996 final. After missing out on Tokyo, Cameroon hopes to be back at the Paris 2024 Summer Games. Janil Arab Moy, CGTN.
Football fans in Somalia have recently gone back to the stadiums to watch their local football teams amid the continued spread of COVID-19 cases in the country. A recent domestic league derby was the latest crowd puller in the country's capital, Mogadishu. CGTN's Mohammed Abubakar reports.
In Somalia, the love for football has outweighed the fear of COVID-19 among the public. More than 65,000 football fans, mostly unmasked, packed in for the top-of-the-table clash between military-owned sports club Horseid and Mogadishu's municipality team, Mogadishu City Club. The flock into the national stadium comes as the Somali government continues efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 in the country. A few days after the mesmerizing game, the country recorded 38 new cases of coronavirus. The Somali government has since warned the public from attending gatherings after several attempts to impose restriction failed to yield.
I urge all people to avoid places where people gather. You all know that the schools and universities have now been closed. You should also avoid all the public places wherever it is. We should also keep our social distance at all times.
Football fans like Abdulaziz Diriye attended the match with full knowledge of the spread of COVID-19, but says his passion for the game outweighed his worry for the disease.
We know about the risk of COVID-19, but I couldn't be away from such game. I am a huge fan to one of the teams. I had to attend and watch the game.
Health workers such as Dr. Awale Abdullahi says the gatherings pose a danger to the public, particularly when the Somali Ministry of Health is still announcing new COVID-19 cases in the country.
They have to get a mask which can help them not to spread the virus.
The Somali government recently refurbished Mogadishu Stadium, which formerly served as a base for AU troops in Somalia. Mohamed Abubakar, CGTN.
The governor of the Senegalese capital, Dakar, has banned all traditional wrestling bouts in the city, citing a resurgence in COVID-19 infections. The ban comes only 4 months after events resumed following a year-long suspension due to the global pandemic. CGTN's Asta Tal has more.
Senegal's favorite domestic sport, traditional wrestling, has once again been banned in the capital Dakar due to rising COVID-19 cases. The decision has triggered fears among wrestlers who risk suffering another year of inaction following a similar suspension last year. Denied income yet again, Senegalese wrestlers have decried the latest suspension that comes just 4 months after action resumed.
This suspension is the biggest disappointment I've ever experienced. Imagine if I had a flight on August 15th and took an advance of 70% on my fee to prepare well. I was going to lose out because preparing a professional wrestling match requires millions of CFA francs. Wrestling is our livelihood and we have nothing else but this sport. I therefore take this opportunity to ask the Senegalese to go and get vaccinated, which will at least eradicate this pandemic of COVID-19.
I consider the cancellation of our fight as lack of respect toward wrestlers. I cannot understand that we stay more than 2 years without a wrestling competition. It's unacceptable. I had started my season very well and I was sure I would finish it on a high to support my family. I think that wrestling is discriminated against compared to other sports because a football match was held in this same facility, but fights were cancelled.
Coronavirus restrictions have put thousands of professional fighters out of a job, according to Senegal's National Wrestling Association. Gaston Bengue, a fight promoter who welcomed the ban, noted that people's lives matter more than sports.
We accepted the government's decision out of patriotism because people's lives are more important than organizing a wrestling match. When a wrestler is injured on the eve of a fight, we automatically cancel the fight. So, if we cancel a fight for an injured wrestler, why shouldn't we postpone a fight where people are dying? The most important thing for me is not the money, but the health and life of the people.
Traditional wrestling in Senegal constitutes a livelihood for over 8,000 members of the National Wrestling Association. The resumption of wrestling was a relief for all stakeholders in the sport. For now, wrestlers can only keep fit and train at home as they wait for action to resume. Asta Tal, CGTN.
Well, that's it for this edition of Sports Scene. Remember, you can send us your feedback to the contacts on the screen and follow us on digital media platforms. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again same time next week. Take care.